Have you ever wondered how being single for a long time can change you? Whether it's by choice or circumstance, spending years without a romantic relationship affects us in ways we may not even realize. Some of these changes are empowering, helping you grow stronger and more independent, but others may subtly make it harder to connect with someone new, even when the opportunity arises. In this video, we'll explore 5 key ways that long-term singlehood reshapes you mentally, emotionally, and socially. From how you handle your independence to how you approach relationships, these shifts happen gradually, often without you even noticing them. But once you understand them, you can decide what's working in your favor and what might be holding you back from experiencing the deep connections you desire. Make sure to stay with us until the end, because some of these changes might surprise you. More importantly, we'll discuss what you can do to embrace the positive aspects of singlehood while overcoming the ones that might limit your ability to form meaningful relationships. Whether you're content with being single or considering opening up to love again, this video is for you. Let's get started. Number 1. Becoming more independent. The longer you've been without a relationship, the more self-sufficient you become. You learn to handle things on your own, making decisions, structuring your life exactly how you want, and managing challenges without relying on a partner for support. And in many ways, this is an incredibly empowering transformation. Independence builds strength, confidence, and the ability to navigate life's obstacles without needing someone else to complete you. Take Emily, for instance. At 53, she lives in a quaint apartment in Portland, Oregon. For over a decade, she's built her life around her own routines. Morning jogs along the Willamette River, evening book club meetings, and solo hiking trips in the nearby Columbia Gorge. She's proud of how much she's accomplished on her own, and it's easy to see why she wouldn't feel the need for a partner. She has everything she needs to feel fulfilled. But there's another side to this kind of independence, one that can make relationships feel challenging when they do come along. The longer you live life entirely on your own terms, the harder it can be to adjust to having someone else in your space. You've crafted your own routines, habits, and way of doing things. There's no one to check in with, no one to compromise with when making plans, and no one to ask about their preferences when deciding how to spend your time. After years of this, you may start to view relationships as more of an inconvenience than a partnership. It's not that you don't desire companionship, but rather, the idea of adjusting your life and letting someone else into your world can seem like a disruption. Imagine 2 people in their 60s. Lisa, 62, who lives in Seattle, and Ben, 63, who lives in Boise. Both have been single for years. Lisa, though, is still open to finding companionship. She's willing to adjust aspects of her life to make room for a partner. On the other hand, Ben has become so used to a structured daily life that even small compromises, like sharing space or deciding on joint activities, feel frustrating. Which one do you think will have an easier time building a meaningful connection if the right person comes along? The good news is that if you recognize this tendency in yourself, it doesn't have to hold you back. Independence is an incredibly valuable quality, but relationships thrive on compromise and flexibility. Finding balance between maintaining your independence and allowing room for someone else is the key to navigating relationships successfully. Number 2. Struggling more with emotional vulnerability. As time goes on and you remain single, the harder it can be to open up emotionally. When you're on your own, you get used to handling everything, your thoughts, emotions, and struggles, without anyone checking in or providing deep emotional support. The loneliness of this can build resilience, but it can also create emotional walls without you realizing it. Emotional vulnerability is something that needs to be practiced. In relationships, you naturally learn to share your feelings, confide your worries, and lean on someone else when life gets tough. But after years of being single, the muscle of emotional vulnerability weakens. You may find yourself hesitating to share how you truly feel, even with someone who genuinely cares about you. You might convince yourself that you're better off not needing anyone, or that you can carry the weight of your emotions alone. But deep down, no matter how independent you are, everyone craves emotional intimacy. When you've been on your own for too long, allowing someone to see the softer side of you can feel unnatural. You may resist the idea of opening up because it feels too risky or vulnerable. Take David, for example. He's 57 and has been single for over 10 years. He's independent, self-reliant, and proud of how he's managed his life without a partner. But when he meets someone new, he realizes that the thought of sharing his personal feelings makes him anxious. His walls are so high, he barely notices how closed off he's become. Now imagine Sarah, also 57, who has been single for many years. But Sarah remains open to connection, willing to express her thoughts and feelings, even if it's uncomfortable at first. Which one of them do you think will have an easier time forming a meaningful relationship? Vulnerability doesn't mean weakness. It's what allows people to truly know and understand you. The more you practice, the easier it becomes to share with others, and the deeper your relationships will be. Number 3. Developing stronger personal routines and habits. When you've been single for a long time, you inevitably build a life that revolves around your own preferences and routines. While there's a certain freedom and satisfaction in this, it can also make it difficult to integrate someone else into your world. The longer you've lived without having to adjust for a partner, the more set in your ways you become. Imagine Michael, 55, who lives in sunny San Diego. 4 years, his daily routine has been his personal comfort zone. He wakes up at 6 a.m., goes for a run along the coast, has a quick breakfast, and spends the afternoon working on his freelance projects. He enjoys this structure and feels that it helps him stay balanced. However, when Michael meets someone new, he realizes how much he has to change. His routines are so set that he finds himself resistant to the idea of adjusting his schedule for someone else. The thought of compromising, even for a positive change, feels daunting. This can be a challenge in relationships. In any partnership, there's a natural give and take. You compromise on plans, adjust your habits to fit another person's needs, and learn to create a shared lifestyle. But when you've been single for years, you don't have to think about anyone else's schedule, habits, or preferences. Over time, this can make you less flexible, even if you don't realize it. The key is balance. Imagine two people, Maria, 59, and Eric, 60, who've both been single for many years. Maria, while having strong personal routines, remains open to change if the right person comes along. Eric, however, is so set in his ways that even small compromises feel like a burden. Which one do you think will have an easier time maintaining a healthy relationship? The goal is to keep the structure and independence you enjoy while also making room for someone else when the time is right. A relationship should enhance your life, not make you feel like you're losing your sense of self. Number 4. Raising your standards, sometimes too high. As you spend more time single, you inevitably become more selective about who you allow into your life. And while this is a healthy thing in many ways, there's a fine line between high standards and unrealistic expectations. When you've been single for years, you've had time to reflect on your past relationships, understand your boundaries, and know exactly what you want and don't want in a partner. You've developed a stronger sense of self and a clearer vision of what you need to feel loved and valued. However, the longer you're single, the more you may build an idealized version of the perfect relationship. You might expect someone to check every box: perfect chemistry, effortless communication, emotional compatibility, and shared goals. But the truth is, no relationship is perfect. Let's look at how Anna, 50, and Greg, 51, approach relationships. Anna, having been single for several years, has a clear idea of what she wants, but she's open to compromise when it comes to things that are less important. Greg, on the other hand, has raised his standards so high that no one seems to measure up. He waits for the perfect person, one who ticks off every box on his list. Which one do you think has a better chance of finding meaningful companionship? Having high standards isn't the problem. It's when your list becomes so rigid that you close yourself off to real connections. Remember, relationships aren't about finding someone perfect. They're about finding someone whose imperfections you can embrace. Number 5. Feeling less pressure to be in a relationship. As time goes by, the urgency to be in a relationship tends to fade. When you've been single for a long time, you learn how to enjoy your own company. You fill your life with hobbies, friends, and personal growth, and in many ways, this can be incredibly fulfilling. You've learned to find happiness without needing someone else to complete you. However, this mindset shift can make it difficult to re-enter the dating world. The longer you're single, the more comfortable you become in your solitude, and the idea of opening up to someone new might feel unnecessary or even disruptive. You might convince yourself that you're perfectly fine on your own, and relationships just don't seem as important as they once did. But if you're truly honest with yourself, is it that you've convinced yourself you don't want a relationship, or is it simply that the idea of change feels overwhelming? Recognizing the difference between being genuinely content and avoiding relationships out of fear is essential. Relationships aren't about filling a void, they're about adding depth and meaning to the life you've already built. Final thoughts. As we wrap up, take a moment to reflect on these 5 changes. Do any of them resonate with you? If you've been single for a long time, you've likely experienced some of these shifts in your mindset, emotions, and social life. The good news is, it's never too late to make small changes that open the door to love and connection. Remember, relationships are not about filling an emptiness. They're about enhancing the beautiful life you've already created for yourself. Whether it's finding balance between independence and companionship, opening up emotionally, or simply being willing to embrace the risk of love, the effort you put in brings you closer to the kind of relationship you truly deserve. If you've been single for a while, and you find yourself longing for connection, ask yourself, am I truly happy in this situation, or am I simply avoiding the vulnerability and effort required to build something meaningful? Because when you're ready for love, it will find you, even when you least expect it. Thank you for joining us today. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Please leave a comment below and share one thing you learned and how you plan to use it in your life. Your feedback means the world to us, and reading your comments inspires us to continue creating content that motivates and informs. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share it with others who might benefit. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.